I am good. Who is that?
It's Carl.
Oh, hey, what's up, man? What's
What's up?
up? Good, good. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and kick this thing off, guys. I think people are still gonna be trickling in here over the next couple of minutes at least, probably. So without further ado, first of all, oh man, y'all have no idea what the past 24 hours has been like. Uh so I'm going on about 3 hours of sleep. And so if I start stuttering and fumbling, that is why. That is why. So but I'm glad y'all tapped in. I've been looking forward to doing this for everyone for some time and getting to share the mic once again with my friend Jeremy and Angela. So real quick before we kick it off, because I recognize some names. There's a few I don't. Y'all do me a favor. And just so I can get a feel for the room a little bit, drop in the chat. Tell me where you are, where you're from, and where you're currently at. What part of the country are you guys in? Did I? Okay, okay. Austin, Buffalo, Greensboro, Washington, Virginia. Okay, Phoenix, Dallas. Yes. Chesapeake. Okay, the NY. San Diego. Gotta love it. Memphis, Barbados. What? Okay. San Diego again, Richmond. All right. Colorado, one of my faves. Okay, okay. Salt Lake City. Breck, I remember Breck. Brooklyn's in the house. I see you. All right. Ohio, Los Angeles. Okay. I was just out there recently. Northern Virginia. Awesome, man. Y'all are all over the place. That's a good thing, actually, because we're gonna talk about location a little bit. But regardless of where you're at, I think you'll get some value out of this. So hey, we're gonna kick it off. So the goal is to get in and out in less than within an hour to an hour and a half, right? So if we can stay in that sweet spot, not go over an hour and a half, we'll be doing really good. Because we want to make sure we give y'all a lot of great, useful uh, action oriented information, right? So, with that said, I'm gonna just introduce myself, and I'm gonna let Jeremy and Angela do their own intros so that I don't mess them up. But for those of y'all who may or may not have heard of me before, my name is Noble Crawford. I run a couple of companies, but one of them is in the hospitality space. I've been in the hospitality space for years. Started in hotels many moons ago. I'm not going to date myself, but I started in the hotel space and then got into the short-term rental space. And over the course of time, got into some direct booking stuff. Ultimately, ended up doing some contract stuff, which is why we're here this evening. And so I've been in it probably at least on the real estate side of it since 2017. I cut my teeth on government contract stuff back in my previous W-2 life. So that was many years ago, but that's how I learned that. So that's just a little bit about me. And now I have the good pleasure of working with others and kind of just sharing my knowledge and what I've learned in the space and how to land some of these contract opportunities. And then I've had the good fortune of working and partnering directly with Jeremy and Angela, which has been such a joy. And so I'm happy to welcome them to the stage also this evening. So Jeremy, I'll let you go ahead and go do a quick introduction, and then we'll let Angela go and get it kicked off.
Yeah, thank you, Noble. So I'm Jeremy, a retired military vet. I've been in the hospitality space for about 6 years now. And the last 2 to 3 years, mainly focused on government contracts and locking in and blessed to have win a few of those. So I'm definitely excited to be able to share with everyone here today.
Awesome. Hey, y'all. I'm Angela. I'm out here in San Diego. I've been in hospitality industry for about 4 years now as well. Started in short-term rentals and then migrated over to government contract with the support of Noble, and excited to share with you all here today. So welcome.
Awesome. First of all, guys, like these two are being way too modest. Okay. I'm just going to say it, right? So Jeremy is an absolute beast in the space. one of the most laid back, like coolest cats you'll ever meet, right? Just a genuinely good guy. But he has been crushing the game for a minute. So don't let don't let his demeanor fool you, right? And then Angela, like, she just came out of nowhere in this space, right, and just took over the entire state of California, concentrated there in San Diego, and has been a godsend for us with this contract, right? So we're gonna hear more from them later, but we're gonna jump right into it, right? So I want to get y'all some good information, some good intel. So specifically talking about today, a $44 million opportunity, okay, that we were a part of. All right, so before we get into that, I want to just kind of define exactly what it is that we're talking about, right? And so basically, it's a federal lodging contract, right? So what is that? So basically, in short, lodging contract is just an agreement between a federal agency, could be any number of the almost 500 plus that there are, right? But an agreement between a federal agency and a vendor or a contractor, right, to provide temporary housing, accommodations, lodging over a period of time, right? And so that period of time could be a matter of as small as a handful of days. It could be, it could be 5 years, and there are some opportunities to go beyond that, right? And so that's typically what it is. But they're housing personnel that either travel, official business, training, temporary duty, whatever the case is, right? So that's a federal lodging contract. And so for those of us who are who enjoy real estate, right? We're in the real estate industry in some capacity or another. You're very much in a position where you can go after these opportunities. Okay, so let's just establish that up front. All right, so we're gonna cover 10 things today. So we're gonna cover the 10 steps to land yourself, right, $44 million contract. Now, granted, I will say this as a caveat. Okay, they're not all gonna be this big. Okay, like this is a pretty good size one. It's not the biggest one I've seen by far. I've seen some that are substantially bigger. Okay, but this is a pretty good size one. But at the end of the day, the process to land something like that is very similar. Okay, it's very similar. So to what we're about to get into. Okay, so that's what I want you to understand. So what we're going to share with you tonight, if you follow this process, you could very much put yourself in a position to win a 7-figure or even multi-7-figure, 8-figure opportunity. Okay, all right, so let's get into it. All right, so starting off, like, how do we find this opportunity? Well, first of all, if I remember correctly, Jeremy, you found the opportunity, and you were tooling around online, right? In Sam, I believe, and you came across it. And is that correct? Do I recall that correctly?
Yes. One thing I want to point out, I don't know if everyone can see your screen. I think it for me it's
did my screen went away? Okay, hold on. Thank you for saying that. Let me do this. Let's see. So we already have I have technical problems already. All right, so let me go keynote. Okay, what about now?
Yes, we can definitely see now.
Okay, so let me back up. So this was the screen I was on. I don't know if y'all saw that one. So this is the 10 steps to the $44 million contract. So we're gonna break down these 10 steps, and then boom. Then I was talking about how Jeremy found the opportunity initially.
Right. So yeah, so and I know Noble, I don't know if how deep he's going to go into it, but basically, I find like 95% of my opportunities on sam.gov, which is a public site. Anyone can go in there. So I usually go on there at least 2-3 times a week. And I look at opportunities. I look at opportunities that usually lodging opportunities. And I found it literally on this site, and then that's how this all began. Literally found opportunity on this site.
Yep, absolutely, 100%. So anybody could do this. There's some prerequisite level stuff you want to get out the way first, but outside of that, anybody can do this. So this is what it looks like when he initially found it. This is the actual screenshot of the opportunity, and in that link that I showed you, that's where you can find it. But this is what it looks like when he first found it. So when you're searching, this is typically what you would see, something like this, right? So this is, and what I want to point out on this screenshot, because this is when he kind of, looped me in, but the date of it. So this is December of, this is a year ago, right? It's December of 2023. So that's when he first learned about it, right? And so we started kind of conversing about that. All right, so this particular deal was considered what we call in the federal procurement space a sources sought. Okay, so I'm going to use some language tonight that may be a little bit confusing, so I'm going to try to provide the definitions as I move along, right? But essentially, there are different types of contract opportunities. Okay, so there are active bids, which are considered solicitations. Okay, and then there are bid opportunities that aren't active just yet. So they're considered pre-solicitations or sources sought or RFI, request for information. Okay, so those three terms are used synonymously: pre-solicitation, sources sought, or request for information. Whereas conversely, a bid is also considered a request for a proposal. So those two terms are used interchangeably. Okay, so this particular opportunity that Jeremy found was not an active bid opportunity. It was a pre-solicitation or a sources sought. Essentially, sources sought means that an agency is seeking a source to provide a solution to a need that they have, i.e. sources sought. Okay, so the agency kind of uses that as a resource tool to do their due diligence and their research, right? And so they'll identify these potential vendors, right, that they believe can potentially provide the solution for what they're looking for. In this case, it was lodging, okay, and housing, okay? And so also that's one way that agencies will use a sources sought or will put a sources sought or an RFI out for people to respond to, right? Okay, the other use case for it is sometimes they'll use it to determine if they're going to set that opportunity aside for entities and vendors that fit in certain socioeconomic groups. So what do I mean? So basically, if you, for example, are a woman-owned, if you're a minority business enterprise, if you're a veteran or service-disabled veteran, right? If you're fit in an 8A classification, there's different socioeconomic groups that the government will sometimes take an opportunity and set it aside so that specific group can bid on it. Okay, so they use these opportunities under the sources sought or the RFI to determine if they're going to set that aside for a specific vendor type. Okay, and then they'll gather all the information for people who respond to the sources sought. So they're seeking a source. So the respondents, the vendors, the contractors that actually send in their response, they'll gather that information, and one of two things will happen. More often than not, what will happen, number one, is eventually that sources sought or that pre-solicitation or RFI will get converted into an active solicitation or an active bid. Okay, so that's kind of the transgression. You go from a pre-solicitation to a solicitation, or from a sources sought to a RFP, right? And so so that's one thing that could happen. The other thing that could happen is the agency could actually say, you know what? We've identified a vendor that responded to the sources sought that we like so much that we're going to create what's called a sole source award. We're going to award a contract opportunity to a vendor because they fit the bill. They check all the boxes. Okay, that can happen too. Now, there's certain parameters that have to be in place, but that could happen. So for this particular deal, it was an RFI or a sources sought. That's how it all started. And so in that situation, you want to respond to those when the agencies put them out there, right? So anytime you see, let me go back to my other slide. Anytime you see this type of screen right here, you know, it may not be an active solicitation, but you'll still have an opportunity to respond to it, okay? Now, this is what you're looking for. This is what you're looking for right here. So it'll say contract opportunity type, and it'll say sources sought, okay? And that's how you'll know when you see it that it is not an active solicitation yet. Okay, but as Jeremy will attest to, both 7 and multi and 8-figure deals that he's won, right, started out as a sources sought that he responded to initially, right? So they weren't even active bids. Okay, and so we're going to get into that and why that's important. But that's how this whole thing started. All right, so another thing is very important. So he responded to the sources sought, and then because again, if you remember, looking at the date earlier, the thing dropped last year. Okay. So a month more, 6 weeks later, he's reaching back out to the contracting team, the people that put the source of salt out there. Initially, they said, hey, we're going to try to award this by the end of the year. Time passes. You can see on the date here, January 31st, Jeremy's raising his hand and reaching back out and saying, what's going on? You know, what are we doing here, right? And so, so you want to follow up. Follow up is huge in this space, people. Like, don't just respond to something and then disappear for 6 months, right? Always follow up, but follow up without being annoying or being disruptive. That means, like, don't email them every other day, right? Don't email the contracting teams every week necessarily, but do follow up periodically, right? So Jeremy followed up with the contracting officer, just asking about the status, you know, based on the information that he was initially given. And as you can see, below in the below email, they responded and they said, thanks for the email. Solicitation has been delayed. Don't currently have an update on the date. However, it will be posted. Okay. And so, and they responded the next day. Okay. So I get a lot of questions a lot of time from people that are apprehensive about contacting federal agency personnel because it sounds scary, right? At the end of the day, they're just human beings like all of us, right? They put their pants on one leg at a time. Okay. So don't be scared to reach out, right? So follow up is key. Okay. So that's what Jeremy, do you got anything to add to that, Jeremy? The whole follow up?
So yeah, now I will say, and I know it says don't be scared. I was scared though. I was initially. So it's okay to be scared, but try not to be scared. You know, do remember that they are regular people just like us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So here's where it pays off right here. Okay. So this is the response that he ultimately ended up getting. Now, check the date. April, this started in December 23. This is April. This is like 4 or 5 months later. Okay. I always tell people, these, especially the big ones, the big opportunities, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Okay. Stuff doesn't happen overnight, but when it hits heavy. Okay. So he got a response April the 3rd. Okay. And they're basically saying, we want to notify you that the solicitation now has been converted to an actual bid. Solicitation has been posted for this opportunity for the Navy. Okay. And you're being notified due to your response to the sources sought that was posted in September. So it was posted in September. We responded December. He responded December, followed up in January. They converted it in April. Okay. So this is a large deal. So it took some time. It was a little freight train moving slow. Okay. Now, so this is good. You always want to see something like this because when you respond to a sources sought opportunity, it does a couple of things for you, for your company, for your entity. One, it puts you on the radar with the contracting team. It puts your company on their radar because you responded when others did it. A lot of people will look at it and they'll say, oh, it's not an active bid. I'm not going to respond. That's a mistake. Okay. So anytime you come across the source of salt, you want to respond if you can, because it puts your entity on the radar with the contracting team. And here's what's even more advantageous. When you respond to a source of salt opportunity, to a pre-solicitation, sometimes the agency will adopt some of your language and put it into the bid. And when you see that happen, that's game over. That's huge, right? Because that means they like so much what you had to present that they're now adopting that and put it into their language. That puts you in a very advantageous position, okay? And so, so it's good to get a follow-up letter like this, you know. So then next, so then now that Jeremy, Angela, myself, like we all know now that this is an active bid. There are going to be other people that are going to be submitting, you know, competing for this. We need to get to work, right? So now it's time to start doing some homework, okay? So the first thing that you got to do is your market research, okay? And I'll explain to you what that means. So real quick, guys, we're going to move a little bit faster here. So every active bid solicitation opportunity, well, not everyone, but the majority of them have what is called a scope of work, okay? And that basically just details, this is what the agency is looking for, kind of checks everything off. This is everything they're looking for. This is the time frame they're looking for. This is the quantity they're looking for. Sometimes they may say something related to the pricing, right? And so it details everything that the agency is looking for based on that opportunity or that need that they have, okay? That's in the scope of work. So the scope of work is the number one document you want to pay attention to. Sometimes there's others, but that's usually the primary one, right? That's going to dictate the location. That's going to dictate the type of property that they're interested in, or they're looking for, right? All of the things, okay? And so as you're reading through the scope, you do have to read, just by the way, right? We do got to read in this space. But as you're reading through the scope, like you want to highlight or make a note or check off like the specific things they're asking for, right? And the goal ultimately is to see if you can meet as many of those, check off as many of those boxes as possible based on the criteria that they require, okay? And so, so that's part of the starting process of doing your market research or your due diligence, determining location for inventory that you're looking for. And when I say inventory, I'm talking about housing and lodging inventory. Could be single family, could be multifamily, could be hotels, right? Could be a combination. I've seen RV parks requested, right? I've seen land requested, right? Temporary shelters requested. It could be any number of different type of accommodations, type of housing, okay? And so you need to know like what type of property, okay? And then the location that they're looking for. Usually a lot of times they'll say we need it within this specific radius, okay? So provide that. So you need to know that as well. So once you start doing your market research, the most important thing, just like real estate in most spaces, location, 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 okay? It's no different for the federal government, okay? The federal government does not want to put their people, either their own team members, their own employees, their own contractors, other clientele they're servicing, they do not want to house them in suspect areas, right? They're not going to put them in the hood, right? Okay, so location, location, location is important. It's just as important to them as it is for you and I, okay? Other considerations that can play a big impact is how close the property or properties are to a specific address or specific site, okay? So for this specific deal here, this one was Department of the Navy opportunity. They're looking for hundreds and hundreds of doors, but the first block of doors that they were looking for initially is 300, okay? And so for the first wave, it's 300, okay? And then that was broken up into two parts. And so, but they needed these 300 doors to be within proximity to this naval shipyard down in San Diego, okay? They had to be within a certain radius of this naval shipyard, okay? So that can be important. Amenities that they're requesting or looking for, that can be important. I'm gonna let Angela dive into that a little bit here in a little bit. Parking availability, okay? How secure is the community or the property or the grounds, right? Like that's important, right? Just like it is for all of us, okay? And so those are some of the things that when you start to do your homework that you want to keep in mind as you start to look for properties, okay? I'm gonna speed up a little bit. The next step, right? After you kind of determine this is the radius that I'm working within, these are the type of properties that I'm looking for, you know, these are all the things that the agency requested on their checklist, okay, that I'm going to look for. Now you need to source those properties. I need to go out and actually find the properties that you're going to leverage, right, for this specific contract opportunity, okay? And then after you find them, of course, you need to negotiate the terms, okay? And so how does that look? So it starts with leveraging your network, right? So I'm a huge proponent of leveraging your immediate circle of influence first, okay? So that starts maybe with friends and family, right? Letting them know who has access to real estate or knows someone that has access to real estate or housing or lodging, right? And then your friends, your industry contacts, real estate agents, people that are in the industry, right? Property owners, property management companies can be huge, right? Investors, a lot of us on the call are in the STR, MTR space, other operators, right? So you want to start putting those feelers out to find out where can I obtain this inventory, okay? Who can I get it from? Where's my partner at, right? And so, so that's part number one. And I just recommend starting with your warmest leads possible and kind of expanding outward and kind of broadening your approach from that, right? Now, the next thing is like when you're reaching out to contact these people, right? I'm a big fan of like keeping it simple, okay? And so if it's not face-to-face, which is the single best form of communication to this day, face-to-face, right? Typically, you're not going to reach out on a video call. You're not going to schedule a video call to ask somebody about the property. That's a great form of communication, but that's not the direction, right? So a phone call works beautifully. Emails, text messages, reaching out to somebody through social media like LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, however you can get them, right? DM, right? Then we start venturing off, right? We're starting with the warm opportunities and we start expanding. Cold calling, right? Picking up the phone, right? Calling property management companies, finding out what their inventory is like, right? OTAs, for those of you who don't know, that's online travel agencies. So the folks that are playing on Airbnb, VRBO, all of those places, right? Online channels, your furnish finder, your places like that, right? So you want to start with those warm connects, making those easy, reaching out in an easy way. And then you want to kind of expand from there, okay? But you want to leverage your network first to try to find inventory and find inventory that's available, right? As you come across inventory, as you find inventory, you want to build a list because you're effectively building a leads list, okay? And so, Jeremy, real quick, maybe you can touch on, because he was heavily involved, him and his team, and helping put together, him and Angela, the first list, essentially, that they kind of led with.
Yeah, so I mean, we went and we added, and Angela can jump in here too. I believe I recall it was a little while ago, but I believe we went through and I added every property that I saw that had at least 20 doors available, I want to say. So I went through, I think I used Zillow, and I stuck within my radius. I had every single property. We had a list of like, we had a long list.
Yeah.
I want to say it was almost like the entire San
I
Diego.
have 100 more, well, around there.
Yeah, so it's it takes a little time, takes some work, but it's fun though. It is fun. I will tell you, it is rewarding doing that, knowing the type of opportunity. So,
yeah. So I think the take home here, guys, is like you can't be like afraid to like reach out, pick up the phone, send an email, like start building rapport with some of these property owners or property management companies. Like that stuff will pay off huge for you, right? You would be surprised. Quick fun fact: I had a student was working on opportunity, and it was a government opportunity, and was multifamily was required, so apartment doors. And so she had reached out to a property management company and was explaining the opportunity to them, right? And this property management company, I'll just tell you guys, like it's the big one of the bigger ones in the country. It's Greystar. It's one of the bigger ones in the country. So Greystar has a process where you can get on like their national corporate list and get access to their inventory nationally that they own and manage. But what essentially, effectively, what they offered to her was to fast track her through the approval process because she brought them an opportunity that they loved, right? Like they loved so much, they were offering to, hey, we're going to fast track you through this approval process, right? And skip some of the red tape, if you will, right? And so don't be shy to pick up the phone. Don't be shy to reach out and have these conversations, right? Because you'd be surprised at some of the responses. All right, so leveraging. So if you're on the phone with somebody or email or send a text or whatever, just real quick, high level, real quick here. Just what do you say, right? So essentially what you want to do is just explain the opportunity to either the property owner or the property management company, right? Find out what is their monthly rate for however many doors you're looking for, right? So in this case, for this specific opportunity, like Jeremy said, he's looking minimum 20, right? So what's the monthly rate going to look like if I get 20 doors from you for, up to a 5-year period, right? And so they're not used to that conversation. I'll tell you that. Like most property management companies are not used to that conversation. There are some markets where that's more prevalent, but for the overwhelming majority across the country, they're not used to that conversation, right? So then they have these light bulb moments like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. This is good, right? It does a bunch of things for a property owner, a property management company, or ownership, right? And so you want to lead with that, right? And then after you've established like what, their availability, potentially what they would be charging, you want to try to then negotiate some concessions based on the volume of inventory that you're willing to pick up and for the length of time that you're willing to grab it. Okay. So you want to use that to your advantage. You want to try to negotiate some concessions, like getting the first month's rent free, rent waived, right? So a lot of times these communities, they'll have a special run. So take advantage of it, right? But even if they don't ask, right, getting that security deposit waived or cut in half or whatever you can do there. Try to get that parking fee minimized, right, for monthly parking, right? Whatever you can negotiate a concession, that's what you want to do. And then get it in writing, okay? We'll get into that later, but get it in writing. That's huge, right? If it's not in writing, did it really happen? right? Was it really said? Is what I'm getting at. So if you can get them to email it to you in the form of a quote in writing, that's helpful, okay? And then the last thing I'll make on that point is when you're engaging with these communities, you don't want to have the conversation with the leasing agent, right? That's an hourly person, typically lower level. You want to have that conversation at the very least with the property manager or the assistant property manager, but never with the leasing agent. I don't even engage them. I'm just, look, when is the property manager going to be in? I'll call back, right? So that's where you want to start the conversation, because a lot of times it'll even go up to the regional level. I've seen it go to the national level where approvals go up the chain, okay? So you don't want to have the conversation with an hourly person in this situation. All right, so then we got to put our bid together, okay? So we're going, man, time moving fast. Okay, so we got to put our bid together. So there's a couple of things you want to keep in mind when you're preparing your bid. Now, I will say, I've always, I'm pretty decent at writing proposals. I'm pretty decent at writing proposals, in my opinion. I am. And that's probably only because I've been doing it for a while. But Jeremy is next level at writing proposals, him and his team. As a matter of fact, and he didn't know I was going to say this, but I'm going to plug him. He's launching this like proposal writing service. So when you guys start doing contract stuff, like reach out to him, because he writes winning proposals too. Okay, so with that said, so the next part was putting together the proposal. So anytime there's a scope of work, sometimes in the scope of work, you will see them call out what they want, how they want you to respond. So you always want to pay attention to the instructions and the scope of work regarding how you respond to it, how you present your submission. Sometimes, and Jeremy can test this, we've seen it where they say double spacing, 12-point font, Times New Roman font, like it could get to that. It doesn't often, but you can see that, right? And so you want to follow it to the letter, okay? Now, unless it says otherwise, here are some normal things that you would put into a proposal. And I'll show you an example here in a second. Your cover letter, okay? Important. Table of contents, if it's lengthy. If you have like, 5-10 pages, you don't need a table of contents. We've submitted proposals, Jeremy can attest to this, over 75 pages, okay? You need a table of contents, okay? Because you want to make it easier for the contracting team to digest the information. So when they can look at the table of contents, they can see, oh, the pricing's on this page. Oh, the scope of work is on this page. Like, that's beneficial. You want to make their job as easy as possible. Make it easy for them to digest your information, okay? Your company summary. So you definitely want to have that on there. You want to have a section for pricing, okay? You want to have a teaming agreement is basically like if you're going into an opportunity with another vendor, right? So like the three of us, like we created a teaming agreement, right? It's just basically outlining, how we're going to tackle this opportunity, okay? And so if that's applicable, you'll want to use that. And then let me move my little bar out of the way. And then your capability statement. And so a capability statement really, in short, is kind of like a business resume. That's essentially what it is. I'll show you an example. It's like a business resume. A lot of times they're one page. Occasionally you'll see a 2-pager. Okay, but that's a capability statement. All right, so moving right along. Okay, so here's what I'm talking about right here. So cover page, boom. This is the actual information from the solicitation that we want. This is it. So you screenshot if you want to, but cover page, table of contents, okay? Then I'm not going to show you everything because this one was like, I want to say it was over 90 pages. Okay, so we're not looking at all of that, but this is a screenshot highlight stuff. So about the company, overview of, kind of what we're recommending is the solution for this opportunity. Sometimes the scope of work will call out specific things. So I don't know if you can see this very well, but like on this one, there were certain things called out around inspections, certain things called out around specific requirements, some general room specifications, things like that. So anytime we see that, we want to make sure that we let them know, hey, we understand it, we read it, we're going to provide this, that, and the other, right? Okay, so that's what that is. This on the right is called a Form 1449, okay? You will see that in this space. I just want you to have a visual of it so you know what you're looking at. It's not scary, right? It looks like it the first time you look at it, but it's not. But sometimes, on occasion, you'll see where they want the Form 1449 included in the response. So that's what that is. And then this is a capability statement. This is Jeremy's earlier iteration of his capability statement. But Jeremy, you want to talk through this real quick and just kind of what some of these subheadings kind of represent?
Yes. Noble, I'm blind as a bat, man. But I want to say that says the about us. So it's as simple as the heading. The about us section just talks a little bit about our company. Basically, this whole capability statement is doing literally just that. Just telling the government these are the things that I'm capable of as a company. And so that when you go out and you go after these opportunities, they have some sort of idea of what your company does, what what you're experienced in, who you've worked with, and the certifications that you have. So all of these things that you see on the capability statement are important, and you really want to paint a picture here with this capability statement. It's usually a one pager, no more than 2 pages. But yeah, this is like I think this is the exact one that we used on the proposal.
Yep, that's the exact one. So so like I said, guys, real, just it's a one-page business resume. It's gonna typically have these similar sections into them, core competencies, differentiators, your list of industry, what are called NAICS codes, and those are the industry codes that we kind of fall under in this space. So pretty straightforward. You'll usually want to attach that document to the end of your bid response, whether it's a sources sought or whether it's an active solicitation. Either one, you want to attach your capability statement. Okay. Now, this is what it looks like when you get awarded a contract and it comes via email. Okay. So as you can see, July 18th, that was this summer. Okay. That was this summer. When did we initially start looking at this? December. Okay. So you can see how long, like it's a big one, obviously, but you can see how long it took from first initially looking at a sources sought to getting awarded in July. Okay, so this is what they did. They sent Jeremy the email, and I'm gonna explain something here to you guys in a second. But they sent Jeremy the email. They said it attaches the award for your review and for your signature. Right. So needless to say, like that's the email that you want to see in your inbox. Hit your inbox, and he's seen a few of those. Right. So so one thing to keep in mind. Typically, you'll receive confirmation via email. Sometimes they'll call you, sometimes both, right? Usually you'll have a window of time to accept the award, okay? Whether that's 72 hours, whatever it is, they'll give you like a window of time, because if you don't want to accept it for whatever reason, right, then they need to go on to the next person in line, okay? And so usually you want to, review it, make sure everything's buttoned up, looks good, sign it and get it back, right? Because it's not official until the signatures are wet, right? Both signatures, right? From the contracting officer and for the vendor. Okay. So that was a good day, obviously. It was a good day for I think, Jeremy, we were notified, or you were notified that you won before you got the email by a third party, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So we that was very strange. I was like, what? So it came from another company that also put in a bid, and it just so happened that notification letters went out to the other participants that did not win before we were notified that we won. So it was a little strange.
Yeah, that doesn't usually happen in that order, but he found out before the email came out, and then he called Angela and myself, and we were like, wait, what? So yeah, but anyway, that's what it looks like when you get an award. Now, I'm fixing to let Jeremy and Angela take over. So for myself, I wasn't involved on the post-award logistics as they were. When that email came out, literally was like right before my dad passed. A lot of y'all know I was going through that. So I was disengaged for a minute on dealing with my dad's funeral and stuff. And they like really got heavily involved with getting all of these things done. So we have a checklist, not really a checklist, but some items we want to cover, right? Some items we want to cover because we're mindful of the time. And there's a lot that happened, okay? But I get so many questions about the logistics. Like, what does this look like? What does that look like? What do you do in this situation? And so I want them to kind of go through some of these and talk through some of the operational and logistical things that had to be overcome and even face some challenges. If I'm being honest, like, you get a 300 door opportunity, you will have challenges, right? It's just what it is. But we welcome the challenges, right? And so Jeremy, Angela, if y'all want to like just boom down the list here, and kind of cover some of these topics, and then we'll keep it pushing.
Yeah, so Angela, feel free to jump in whenever whenever you want to. But I would say so literally from the time that we were awarded this contract, in the contract, we were allotted, I want to say 30 days before we got the first 100 units up. And then it was like it was 60 days before we had to have all 300. However, the Navy wanted all of these units set up by, I want to say it was August 1st, which was ridiculously unreasonable because we were awarded a contract on July 18th. So by the time we actually had the kickoff call, I want to say it was like July 22nd or something, or 23rd. So we literally had like 7 or 8 days. They wanted us to turn around over 100 units in like 7 or 8 days. But anyway, so we had the kickoff call, and the kickoff call is pretty simple. It's basically the agency that you won the contract with. In this case, it was the Navy. We basically had a call where they kind of go over what they expect. They answer any additional questions that you may have. And you guys pretty much build rapport. You exchange points of contact. So they'll let you know, hey, here are all the people that you'll be talking to on a day-to-day. They get contact information from us. And it's just that, you're kicking things off, you're kicking off the relationship, and then they kind of give you their expectations and whatnot. And I want to say that was pretty much it. I don't know if am I missing anything, Angela?
No, yeah, that was pretty straightforward. That was the easiest part, the kickoff call.
Yes, it was. That was the easiest part. So now after the kickoff call, because usually what happens is once you get that award, award notice. You want to just start, get the ball rolling, but you have to ask clarifying questions just to make sure that you're on the right track before you start. So I want to say maybe July 22nd, 23rd, we got the green light. So we started ramping up. We had already had properties that, we had the green light for. So we're coordinating installation. We're coordinating the signing of leases. We're negotiating security deposits. Which I think we're going to talk about all of that here in a second. But we're doing so many things, so many moving parts, like Noble said, Noble is dealing with a situation that he's doing a lot of stuff. So Angela and I, we were like, we do not want to buy. There's no way we're about to buy. We were like, yeah, there's no way we're bothering Noble while he's going through what he's going through. So we're like, look, we're just gonna pick up the extra pieces and we keep it moving. So I kid you not, I was out there, flew out to San Diego, and Angela and I were up. We had some long days. We had some very long days. Angela had longer days than I had because I went back home. I'm not gonna lie. I went back home. I was tired. But yeah, no, Angela really was the MVP when it came to this. So like I said, we started contacting the properties just to verify that they were still a go. Some properties, initially they told us they had this amount of units. But then, their inventory changed because, mind you, we had been talking with properties for a couple months. So, of course, their inventory is going to change. We had to go through, oh, my God, we went and visited so many properties. We had to create welcome guides. Y'all, creating one welcome guide for one property. If you knew how long that took, because you have to make sure these people, you got to make sure these people can get to where they need to get to without any sort of human interaction. So that was the goal for creating those welcome guides. And I tell y'all, that was definitely an experience. Mind you, again, we're doing all of this. We're trying to knock all of this out in like a week, a little over
11, I remember kept saying 11 days. We had 11 days to
days.
pull all of this for that August one. And I think it's important to talk about like the contacting properties to re-verify availability, because remember when we submitted it, it was back in May. So remember, we had that long list of properties and contacts that we were working with that had given us green lights. But I mean, especially here in San Diego, July, that is the height of renting season. So all my San Diego people know there's not a lot of availability. So yeah, you were definitely looking for or confirming properties that had larger units together, but not always. Verifying that they had all the amenities. Like Noble said, reading is fundamental. When they say they want parking, they want parking. Again, for those who are in San Diego, that is a cost factor, right? So making sure that you read all of the scope of work and factoring in those expenses is just going to make it that much easier. But those are things just to consider. So we had to factor in, parking is not included in everything in San Diego. And that was a little bit different, right? Jeremy had won 2-3 contracts in different cities and states where you kind of it's just different. We'll say San Diego operates a little bit differently. So making sure we have washer and dryers, even making sure the type of building, right? Coming from my short-term rental experience, San Diego, if you're familiar with the market, it has a lot of walk-up buildings, a lot of like smaller mid-size. As we got to a certain point, the contract officers have to come and perform site visits. So it's not just, okay, we have this apartment complex, this property that says they're good to go. It has to be that the contracting officer also approves it. So, I will share that there was 1 or 2 properties that did not get approved. And we had to go back to our list. But we had done the due diligence in the beginning to make sure that we had a good bench.
Yes.
Raising capital. Oh, go ahead, Nova.
No, I was just real quick. I think y'all can hear it in their voice. Like it was it was a huge effort. It was a huge effort on their part. They pulled off something just this huge feat in record time. And I was kind of in the background, oblivious to most of it, but I kind of knew what was happening just on, from the chatter. But by the time that I got re-engaged and I understood, like, we have how many more doors we got to go get, it was a big one, right? And so they're not, and most contracts are not going to be like this magnitude, right? And it depends on the type of contract too. So don't let that overwhelm you. Like, don't let that scare you. But just understand, like, I don't care what business you're in. If you're putting together 300 doors of anything, it's some work involved, right? And so that's what it was. And then where Angela was going in terms of capital, so I'll touch on that real quick and I'll let her piggyback off of that with Jeremy. Ideally for us, like, we don't want to put any of our own money into anything, okay? That's the perfect scenario, right? We don't have to put any of our own money into anything, right? And so, but you're thinking about, like, I got furniture rental, because that was the play, was renting furniture for these 300 units. It was not purchasing, okay? And so working with multiple furniture rental companies, but like, what's the first month's cost if they're not waiving it, like installation costs, if we can't get that waived, like all of these things, right? Utilities, all those things. So obviously with that many doors and a big chunk of them having to be ready in record time, it requires some upfront funds to be spent, right? And so I think we each ended up coming out of pocket to some extent, but ultimately when we were doing the math, because we had a mad crazy spreadsheet going, right? It was crazy. But we were doing the math, we were finagling the formulas on the spreadsheet and everything. We were like, I think we're gonna need a little bit more money. We're gonna need a little bit more money. And so we at that point determined we need to go out and raise some capital. Okay. So that can be done. That is a thing. You can raise capital for a federal contract opportunity. There are multiple ways to do it. There are levels to it. Okay. One of the more common ones, common approaches are through what are called factoring companies. So that's an approach. There's some caveats to that a little bit. Private capital is always good. Like if you have an investor group or something where you can raise capital from, like that's good. And then you have these private firms, private agencies and stuff that are looking for these types of investment opportunities, right? Which I think Jeremy, Angela, is where we ended up. But yeah, y'all could kind of talk about that a little bit quick, and then we're gonna move quick through these other ones.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, I mean, this was someone asked in the comments. This was my first government contract, so I was overjoyed to be working with veterans such as Noble and Jeremy. I have, a lot of hospitality space with a lot of hospitality experience that helped, in the execution, but the teamwork, as I said previously, was the dream work here. So you guys you got the layout here. Raising capital, if you are involved in any other real estate, that always raising capital. So that's just something that, like Noble said, it can definitely be done, and was critical, right, to executing this amount of doors. But the organization and having good systems, organization. I tell you, I hear my mom from growing up saying you got to make sure you're organized, and this paid off. Yeah, just utilities and internet connection seems very simple when you're just dealing with one or two apartments, but making sure we have the tech stack, making sure we had the support, the personnel. A lot of times you think you can do everything on your own, and we did a lot, but we also leaned on some people, called in some favors. So your network, right? While you're on this call, while you're out in the world, making sure you're networking, building your crew, definitely came in handy.
100%. So real quick, so I had the good fortune at some point, or neck deep in this, of going out and flying out to California myself. And I kind of heard them as we'd be on these conference calls, and I would hear Jeremy and Angela say certain things, and I'm thinking to myself, like, how bad can it be, right? It's internet, like, you know what I'm saying? So I get out there, I get to San Diego, and Angela's like, no, I got a list and I got a bunch of keys, so you can go to these places, and you're gonna meet the AT&T guy, and you're gonna let him in. He's gonna set up, or they have the self setup boxes, and there's instructions, and you can self set up the internet. When I tell y'all, like this is crazy. I went out to one property. I was supposed to do like 3 or 4 in one day. I only did one, and I partially did that one. It took me almost 2.5 hours to get one internet box set up. One. And I think I had like 4 units at that property complex. I don't have no hair, but I would have been pulling it all out. I was at a 12. It takes a lot to get me worked up. I'm calling Angela. I'm like, Angela, like this box doesn't make any sense. Like these instructions are busted. I don't know what's going on. I was frustrated. So the littlest things, right? Like you take for granted in our everyday world, they're like exponentially grow. So yeah, that was fun. Internet was fun. Angela and Jeremy were dealing with utilities like mad crazy, right? Like insurance, like, and just renter's insurance. I'm not even talking about like the big proper or anything like that. Like just regular renter's insurance that you required with your lease, right? Getting all of that set up, getting the information back to the leasing company, making sure the leases are signed, all of that stuff. Furniture showing up when they're not ready, or the furniture company shows up early, and Angela's whipping across town doing 90 to let somebody in the furniture. Or hey, we got to run to the bank. We got to get a check because we got to go pay this furniture company because they came early, and they're not coming back for a week. If you can think of it, it happened, right? So in hindsight, we can laugh about it now to a certain degree, but it was, it was chaotic. It was work. But Jeremy and Angela, from their background in the short-term rental space, they have their operations and logistics down to a T. So that was huge. This would have been an utter failure if I was partnering up with people that weren't ready to go, right? So your team is important. Your team and a lot of times, like I said, doing teaming agreements and bringing in other partners to kind of support, especially when you're going after a big deal. So what are you looking at time? So we got 30 minutes. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. And we can, as you guys have questions, I think some of them are being answered in the chat, but we're gonna have a Q&A. We're gonna have a Q&A. I don't want to crank through some of these other slides. So real quick, it's time to get paid. It's time to get paid. So that's a good thing, getting paid. Now I will say, this specific deal, because of the size of it, because of how large it was, all the moving parts, how much money was involved going in and out, right? It just required a bunch of things. Ultimately, we decided to just set up kind of a joint bank account, or Jeremy set it up and he just kind of put us on as signers. So here's the thing with why I keep saying Jeremy did this, Jeremy did that. So Jeremy was considered what is called the prime contractor, okay? So what's a prime contractor? A prime contractor is a company that has had a federal contract directly with a federal agency, okay? And so that means Jeremy had won some previous contracts where his company, State Nixon, had engaged in a contract or signed a contract and fulfilled the contract, or is working in a contract with a federal agency, Department of Army, the DOJ, whatever, okay? And so once you have that first contract under your belt where it's directly between your company and the agency, you're considered a prime, okay? That's an advantageous position to be in, okay? All the stories you guys hear from me talking about government contracts and stuff, I'm not a prime. I've never won a prime contract. I've only been a sub, okay? A subcontracting is different. A sub comes up under a prime and provides services. It can be lucrative, but it's not a prime, okay? And so going after this opportunity, it made sense for Jeremy to take lead, for his company to take lead, because he was a prime, right? So that's why I say Jeremy this and Jeremy that, because his company, State Nixon, was the lead company, even though we signed a teaming agreement collectively, okay? And so ultimately, State Nixon had to set up an account. Angela and I are on the account. We set up the account, but the government contracts pay monthly. Okay, so a couple of things to understand about government contracts. One, they pay monthly, typically. Okay. Number two, more often than not, they pay in arrears. They pay net 30. They pay 30 days in arrears. Okay, so think about it. If you're signing a lease and the apartment community wants you to pay first month's rent, security deposit, all the things up front, but you're not getting paid till 30 days later, that's not a very advantageous position to be in. That's why I said earlier, you want to negotiate those concessions off the front end. You want to negotiate that rental discount off the front. You want to negotiate that security deposit down, and you want to leverage the fact that you're doing multiple doors and you're doing it for an extended period of time, much longer than a typical 12-month tenant, right? So because you're bringing all that to them, you're asking for them to give you some concessions, okay? And so, but anyway, so the government pays monthly, okay? Now, because we raised capital, and I'll let Jeremy tap into this a little bit, but we ended up raising some capital through a third-party agency. And but the way the terms were set up, it's kind of a hybrid model, really. But the way the terms were set up essentially was they agreed to fund us some upfront capital that we needed, and it was not a small number. Okay, they agreed to fund us some upfront capital that we needed. However, the caveat is, and this is very common, so don't mistake this. The caveat was that when the Navy paid, the Navy pays the funding company first, and then the funding company pays us, right? That's a very common practice, okay? The reason being is because if somebody is advancing you basically money, and you don't have a material asset to back it up, like a hard piece of real estate or some collateral, they want to make sure they get their funds, right? And so they get that, and so you can set that up. That is a legit thing. You can tell the agency who to direct payment to. So the funds go to the capital, the funding company, and then they come to us. Okay, so there's some transfers going on. There's some wires going on every month, right? And so, Jeremy, I don't know, do you want to like speak to that anymore? That's pretty, I guess.
I think that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, so that's essentially, how it was set up. So so then every month we basically tell the funding company, okay, if we need funds, this is how much we need. They'll boom. And like I said, it was a hybrid kind of approach because part of it's considered a line of credit. The other part's more of an advance. So it's a bit of a hybrid. Nevertheless, it kept us from having to dig deep into our own personal pockets. We still had to reach in, but it would have been far more and far much more had we not had this capital provided. Okay, and so that's how that's set up. Okay, but typically, whether you're getting paid through the third party first or whether the agency is paying you directly, usually that's going to be a wire. Okay, so you got to have your business checking account set up. Okay, because more often than not, it's going to be a wire transaction. Occasionally, you may get into a situation where they send you a check, right, at the end of a term or something. Okay, now, other two things that are really important, real quick, bookkeeping, hugely important. Okay, there's a lot of money moving around, especially when you get into 8 figures. There's a lot of money moving, all a bunch of different directions, right? So bookkeeping, astronomically important. So real quick, and this is just something that I want to do because I want to give you guys some extra value. I have a company that I recently kind of learned what they were doing. They're not new to the space, and they're not new to bookkeeping, but it's called Crawford Financial. And so for those of you who know me, a lot of you that run in the same circles that we run in, one of our good friends, TJ Tajani, he's a big STR hotel investment guy. He's been in a hotel investing space. His business partner, his name is Sujay. They have a bookkeeping company called Crawford Financial, and they have a huge team behind them, and they understand the space that we play in. Okay, so when you land contracts and the money starts to come in, you need to be able to have clean books. Okay, because when tax time rolls around, you have the CPA down there when it's time to do the taxes. You want to have clean books. Okay, and so these guys are hugely helpful. I'll drop a link in the chat here in a little bit, and y'all can check them out. But they'll do like a free discovery call with you guys for those of you who are looking for a bookkeeper, essentially. Okay, and then I have some other resources, as well for bookkeepers. Something to keep in mind. And then obviously, make sure you have a CPA on your team. Make sure you have somebody solid, do tax planning, help you with the taxes, that sort of thing. Okay. All right. So before we take questions, guys, I know that was a lot. I know it was a lot. We're going to take some questions. I know they've been answering some questions in the chat. But I did want to, like, for those of y'all who are interested, right? For those of y'all who want to really kind of explore this space, take it to the next level, right? Get in a position to capitalize on some of these opportunities. Then we, the three of us, right? The three of us are going to be hosting a live event. We're going to be hosting a live event. Now, I personally have, a number of people have reached out to me and wanted me to host something, right? And for over a year now, and I wasn't ready, right? But I'm more than happy to do it because Angela and Jeremy are going to be there with me, right? So we're going to be hosting a live event. It's just a one-day event, right? So it's a one-day event. It's February the 1st. It's at 9 a.m. It's going to be in Dallas. That's where I'm at. So I'm going to make everybody come to me. But it's going to be in Dallas. It's 9 a.m. We'll go 9 to 5, something like that. We'll do a networking and social mixer afterwards or something like that. But I did want you to put it on your radar. And if you're interested, you can sign up today. Okay. So yes, this is a webinar. Yes, we're trying to give you guys some game. Yes, it's free information. You should have known there was going to be a call to action and Noble was going to give you something that you could spend some more money on this Thanksgiving weekend, right? So this post-Thanksgiving weekend. But in all honesty, guys, like, it's an opportunity to get in front of some of the best speakers in space. So the three of us will be there, but I'm bringing in some heavy hitters in the GovCon space, okay? I'm going to have some government officials there. Okay, so you're going to be able to interact with the very people like we just talked about, right? Other industry professionals are going to be there, right? We're going to provide the workbook and the resources. We're going to feed y'all. We're going to give you lunch, okay? We're going to have a social networking happy hour afterwards, right? And so if that's something you're interested in, $297, you're in. Okay, so $297. You can join us in Dallas on February the 1st. Okay, we're going to provide a ridiculous amount of value for the $297, like ridiculous. Okay, and quite honestly, like I speak at a lot of events, I go to a lot of events. That's a steal. Okay, that's a steal. You already know. But that's what it is. So that's coming up. If you're inclined and you want to really, make a day out of it, we do, obviously, as most events have, we do have a VIP package, right? So VIP is a little bit upgraded. All the stuff that the general admission gets, you get the VIP admission, you get a meet and greet, a separate meet and greet with all the speakers and stuff. You get some of the best seating. We're gonna have some swag. We have some dope swag. So you get the swag, hosted dinner with the speakers and the event recordings. Okay. And that was $597. Now, this is good early bird pricing, right? So it's not going to stay $297 and $597, I can tell you, right? Because we have to be able to pay the bills, right? We got to pay for the event and the venue and the food and the AV conference room, all of that stuff. Okay. And so, but this is what it is. Like, if you guys are interested, you can sign up today, and I'm gonna throw in a couple of bonuses. So if you're interested in general admission, you can go to noblecrawford.com/general, and it'll take you right to a Stripe page. You can check out, boom, you're locked and loaded. Okay. The VIP, same thing. Okay. If you're interested in the VIP, noblecrawford.com/VIP, take to your Stripe page. You can check out your loaded. Now, I think initially on the, I'll go in and correct it, but I want to make a statement here on this recorded call. I think initially I set the tickets up in a way where they were going to be non-transferable. That is not the case. If for whatever reason you purchase, you're not able to make it, you can transfer the ticket. Okay, so I want to make that clear. When you get to the Stripes page, it may say something different, but I'm telling you on this line today, if you can't make it for whatever reason, you can't transfer the tickets. So that's it, guys. This price point for the 1 day live event is going to be gone probably in the next 48 hours, if not 24 hours. Like, and I only can take so many VIPs. I can't take a bunch of VIPs, but definitely feel free, hit those links and take advantage of it. We look forward to like really going in deep, because we can only do so much in a 90-minute webinar, to be honest with you. We can hit stuff kind of at the top level, but you see how fast we're kind of moving. But we want to go deep, and we want to get some of you guys like set up while you're at the event. So when you leave the event, you're ready to go. Like that's an objective, right? And so it's a ridiculous opportunity. All right. So Q&A. All right. So we got to figure out how to do this. I know they've been in the chat answering some questions that were asked. However, I want to take some live questions. We want to take a round of like live questions. We got a little bit of time here before we shut it down. So if you guys can either one at a time come off mute or raise your hands if you have questions or they haven't been answered yet, we are open book. We are more than happy to take as many as we conceivably can. Let's see.
Hi, good night.
Yes. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Latifa. Sorry that my camera is so blurry. I'm in my car. I just left work. I'm a nurse. I live in Barbados. That's in the Caribbean. I would have came across you on YouTube a few months ago. I reached out to you. Something like this I'm very interested in. Is this open to persons living outside of the US also? Or is it only strictly for persons in the US?
Great question. So the more complex answer is yes and no. Well, let me break it down for you. So you can reside in another country. You can even be a citizen of another country and still play in this space. However, the entity has to be a US-based entity. Okay, so there's the caveat there. So you know, there's a couple of ways to accomplish that, right? The more common method to engage in creating that US-based entity, if you don't have US citizenship, is under a partnership, right? Even partner with somebody who is a US citizen, right? But at the end of the day, the entity itself has to be a US business. I do have a mentee that is in the Middle East somewhere, but he has a US-based company. And I started walking him through the process of engaging in this contract opportunities. And so yes, you can do it, with certain prerequisites. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. So how do I connect with you? How do I become a mentee to navigate this process?
Yeah. So the 1-day event is a great way, but if you can't make that, I wasn't really going to talk about this tonight, but other folks have asked recently. So at some point here before too long, I'm gonna be putting out like some virtual material, like some standalone like virtual material. And so that's probably one of the better ways to kind of absorb what I'm teaching. Unfortunately, like right now, I don't have any slots open for one-on-ones. And they come open occasionally. So you can just stay tapped in with me. But yeah, if you can't make the event, to keep a lookout for the course that's coming out.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Let's see. Corey has his hand raised. Corey, what you got?
Yeah, hey everyone. Corey Avian here. Hey, Angela, Jeremy, Noble. First off, congratulations and awesome job on landing this one, bring it to the finish line. I guess two-part question here. So when you first received the award, how rapidly did you have to turn around and get funding, and what did that process look like? And then, because I know you had 30 days to get the 100, 60 to get the other 200 there. And then also as far as drafting leases, what did you all use for that? And per property or management group, did you have to do individual leases, or could you do one master lease for a building listed with multi-units, something like that? Because I know you all were the tenant in that situation, leasing back to Department of the Navy. So just kind of curious what that looked like.
Funding time frame and lease types. Jeremy, you want to take that one?
Yeah. Corey, what's going on, man?
How we doing?
Man, hanging in there. So we funding time. So from the time that we were awarded the contract, which was July 18th, we came together like literally then, and we started talking about different avenues or how we could fund this project. Again, this was a $44 million contract, right? So I think I do well. I think Noble does well. I think Angela does well, but I don't know if we do $44 million well. So we definitely we start tapping into resources that we had. I want to say, Corey, man, we locked in funding definitely in less than 30 days. I can't tell you, it's kind of a blur at this point, but it was definitely from the time that we won the contract, from the time that we actually locked in funding, like signed agreement and money sent to us, it was definitely less than 30 days. Within those 30 days, I want to say we talked to everybody under the sun, man. I don't think we didn't talk to, I think we talked to everybody under the sun. We compared rates, the whole nine. So hopefully that answers your question on that part. As far as the leases, that was just different. It was based off of the different communities. So one community, they may not be familiar with corporate leases or whatnot. So it may be more so of a hand holding and kind of bringing them up to speed on that. In other communities, they're very familiar with corporate leases, right? So it's just a matter of, putting in a corporate application, getting approved. They already have a agreement or whatnot. So, we throw all the units on there, and it's like a master agreement type of thing. So we kind of did a variation of everything that you mentioned. just to fulfill, the requirements.
Okay, that's helpful. Just going to be dynamic based on the property's situation, how they want to approach that.
Right.
Last selfish question, and sorry, I don't want to take up too much time here, but in your guys' experience, obviously, since we're with Noble in the program right now, learning a lot of the language and whatnot, but when you are in the process of working on an RFQ, firm fixed pricing's been agreed to, negotiated, what all does that mean? Is that very positive, or is it still just like, oh, you're up in limbo? It could be turn into award, or it could just be them just trying to gather more information.
Can you, I'm not sure if I understand can you ask that one more time?
So we're working on the FEMA solicitation down in Florida for that direct lease, and I was just curious on that, when you're in the process of working through an RFQ. Right now, we went back and forth on negotiations. That we shored up the firm fixed pricing they're looking for. And I mean, again, we're still learning. We don't know. We're still learning all that. So we were just kind of curious as far as what all that means. I mean, I assume it's positive news, but just figured you guys have maybe been in that position before. Again, more a selfish question, but
Honestly, Corey, I would need to know a little bit more to answer, to give you a good answer. No, I don't know if you can speak a little bit, if you have more details on that one.
Yeah, I know what he's talking about. So, guys, basically, him and his business partner were contacted by the agency to negotiate some pricing that is submitted. That is a good thing. That's a good sign. To be contacted to negotiate something is better than not being contacted at all, right? Not to say that they wouldn't be in contact eventually, but at an early stage, as this one is, to receive some communication with the agency asking you to, to go back and sharpen your pencil, that can be a good thing. A fixed firm price contract is just that. It's fixed. Okay, so there's different like contract vehicles, but a fixed firm price is a fixed price and it's firm. So you set it, it's what it is for the duration of the time that it is. And so that's what he meant by a fixed firm price. So what was the rest of your question, Corey?
I was just curious. I mean, again, we've negotiated and we got to that final offer of the fixed firm price and agreed to it. Now the curiosity is, does that turn into an award? Because my understanding of RFQ is that's something where they're more asking, hey, we're looking for pricing, not so much the what your capabilities are. It's just like we want pricing. RFI and RFP are more a mixture of two, pricing and capabilities. So I don't know. I was just
yeah. I got you. You're asking the $1 million question.
Yeah.
Are they going to award you? Right.
100%.
So none of us have a magic ball. So the short answer is we don't know, right? But there's the thing, guys, like, and to your point, Corey, once you go through the process, because there's a process that you go through from start to finish, right? But you go through the process, you put forth the strongest proposal that you can. It's going to be the best value for the agency, right? You do your best and you forget the rest, okay? So don't lose sleep on not having heard anything or wondering in the back of your mind, are they going to do this if I do that, right? You put forth your best maximum effort because that's all you can do. And you can, and then you control the controllables, right? So if you can't control it, don't lose any sleep over it, right? So you control what you can control, right? You can control where your price falls, right? Where you're comfortable with what that profit margin is, that minimum profit margin is that you set based on the value that you are, giving to that agency, right? Beyond that, like, it's all in their court. Now, the beautiful thing about what Corey's talking about is he's talking about an opportunity through FEMA, so Federal Emergency Management Agency. And when opportunities come through them, they're multiple vendor awards, okay? And so the hurricane was big, created a lot of damage. They need a lot of housing. There's higher demand than there is supply. So they're going to select multiple vendors to award fixed firm price direct leases to. Okay, for multiple properties, single family, multifamily, like maybe some motorhome type stuff. So that's a good thing. And then the fact that he heard from him, that's a good thing. But at the end of the day, Corey, like, I know what you guys did. Like, you couldn't have done much more than you did. So now to be in kind of pre-prep mode, you know, because you're asking about offline about, you know, kind of positioning some people on your team and things like that. That's what you want to do. Start the pre-planning. But I cannot say how soon and if and when they're going to award you a contract.
Yep, understood. And I think I've taken my time there, so I appreciate it. Again, congrats to all y'all, and hopefully looking forward to working with y'all in the future.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We got Linda. Linda with the hand up. What you got, Linda?
Hey guys. So I have two questions for you. One is just trying to get an understanding of the need, or I guess, yeah, just how important is it, or how relevant is it for somebody on a larger scale solicitation like this to have a real estate or brokerage license to do all of these leases? That's my first question. And then my second question is, for those of us with smaller teams that are in still W-2ers, if you could give any advice on how to manage the speed of which things happen after being awarded, knowing that, you know, essentially, you know, as an award winner who is still working a W-2, you're going to need a whole lot of help to get things done in a fast time frame. If there's any advice you could give, what would it be?
So to your second question, about being a kind of a small 1 or 2 person shop and taking on something like this, partnering is your friend. Partnerships and big deals, it can be your friend, right? If any one of us would have tried to take down this opportunity solo or with just our own teams, it might not have gone too well, right? And so you'll have a certain amount of lead time that an agency will give you once they present you with a contract to sign. Usually this was a little different, but you usually have a little bit more of a runway, right, to get the property set up, to get them up and running and things like that. But you're gonna need, like, if it's remote, like in this situation, it's helpful to have a boots on the ground person, right? And maybe it's another STR, MTR operator that's in that market, and you want to partner with them or bring them on as a 1099 or give them some, you know, rev share, whatever it looks like, whatever that partnership looks like, right? You want to have ideally a boots on the ground type of person in that area, or you need to go get one, okay? And that's going to help you immensely, because there's going to be things that physically have to be done by someone that if you're not able to do it, that you need to outsource it. Like, that's just what it is, right? And so, Jeremy, I don't know, maybe you can speak to this, or you and Angela a little.
Yeah, or honestly, so in my opinion, Linda, it's all about the prep work. So if you know, hey, I have a W-2, it's really about figuring out what exactly does it take to succeed, you know, with this contract, right? So if you're going after it, you know, it doesn't have to be like a 300 unit type of deal. It could be 15 units or even 10, right? And, you know, if you feel like you have the capacity to do that, you know, alone or even with a very small team, which I'm telling you, you can definitely do that on your own. You know, it's really just having, you know, everything laid out as far as, like, you know, what you need to execute once you win the contract. So for this contract, you know, in my head, I thought I had it all, you know, and then I found out quickly, very quickly, no, I did not have it all. But you know, you can certainly do the prep work ahead of time. And then if you've done the prep work, so by the time you actually win the contract, again, like Noah mentioned, you usually have lead time. This was a little different. The one that we just won was a little different, but you usually will have lead time. You'll have enough time to where you can actually execute one of the things that you planned. So I definitely think you could do it on your own with a very small team, a lean team. I mean, because our team is pretty lean considering the size of this contract that we just won, and our team is pretty lean. So really all about preparation, in my opinion. But Angela, definitely we'd love to hear your thoughts.
No, I echo everything you guys said. That's why I was saying, like, having this education with Noble, seeing this outline, going deeper into the understanding. We all know preparation is key. And I do think it is integral having the right support system. Like Jeremy said, we accomplished a lot with the small team. So even with you working a W-2, even if you have, 1 point person on the ground, if it's not a local contract that you win, you're going to be able to tackle it. You already have the gusto because you already working a W-2 and learning this space. So the preparation, the gusto, and, a good team or partnership, you'll be able to knock it out the park.
Yeah, that's a good problem to have, Linda. That's a good problem to have. To where do I get the resources to fulfill this contract, right? So and yeah, I'm not gonna let you not fulfill it. So we'll tackle that as it happens, but hopefully that answers your question.
Yes. Yeah. And then going back to the other one about the leases, like, is it a necessity to have, like, this is a larger one, obviously, but like, say if it was like 30 doors or even like 50 doors, is it necessary to have someone on the team that has a real estate license, or is it broker agent?
Oh, good question. No, not necessarily. Now, it can depend on the opportunity. Okay. It can depend on the language in the scope of work. In some instances, it can depend on the state that it's in, because states have different, real estate laws and regulations, right? So the federal government won't necessarily go into a particular state to engage in business and just trump the state law. Okay, they're not going to necessarily do that. So sometimes a state will say, hey, you need to have a business license in the state to transact business. Federal government's not going to come in and say, well, no, you don't, right? So you don't see that a lot, but it can happen. I've seen it like twice, right? But this one, which was a big one, did not require any sort of brokerage, real estate license, anything. All right. So guys, so real quick before we duck out, I want to be sensitive to everybody's time because we're coming up on our hard stop time. So real quick. So you had a few folks, looks like a few folks took advantage. I just want to give you one more chance. And then here's the thing. If you sign up tonight, I'm going to throw in something. I was teetering on whether I should, but I'm going to throw in some extra bonus. So I do occasionally, I'll do like paid consultation calls, right? Because I get a lot of people like reaching out to me, and I don't have time to like field everybody. So I do paid consultation calls. It's 30 minutes or an hour. So if you sign up tonight, I'm going to throw in a 30-minute paid consult for you, right? A strategy session. Okay. Now my consult fee is not super expensive, but it's not inexpensive, right? So it's like $275, $295, something like that for 30 minutes. Okay. So for the price of a ticket, you're getting all of the stuff that I mentioned, plus a paid consultation with me, paid strategy call with me. And then again, like I said, the three of us will get to see you along with some other speakers and presenters and government folks in Dallas, February 1st, a week before the Super Bowl in Louisiana. So you can come to Dallas, stay here, hang out, and then go to Super Bowl. All right. So, but other than that, guys, hey, that's gonna wrap it up. That's gonna wrap it up. So we appreciate y'all spending an hour and a half with us tonight. Hopefully you got some value. You learned something tonight. That was obviously the goal. I know the time went like super fast. Trying to get everything in. Jeremy, Angela, y'all got anything to close with?
Well, I was just going to ask you a question. Are you okay? Like, are you sick? Are you in your right mind? Is what I was going to ask you. But no, in all no jokes, y'all, I just want to say one thing. Noble helped me get my very first contract. And he wrote I want to say probably 85-90% of my response, which was turned around and helped me with my very first contract. And I am very, 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 very grateful for that. I will always love and appreciate Noble for that, because he did not have to do that. He could have easily, won that contract on his own. So that just speaks to who he is. I would say if you, you have the capability to be in Dallas for that one-day event in February, it will be well worth the $297 or whichever package that you get. Like I can't express how much value you will receive for that. I'm not just saying it up here because I want people to buy it. Well, I do want you to buy a ticket, but I'm not just saying that just to say it, y'all. Like I've literally, I won 3 government contracts. This one being a $44 million contract. Another one, 7.5 million, which is the one that he actually wrote my response for. And then I had another one, I think total value is 3 million or something like that. So I'm just throwing it out there. This will be probably one of the best decisions that you've made. So that is all.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I echo those sentiments. There's a lot, this is so doable, but there are a lot of details. And having a day to go through those details with Noble and other experts is so key. I wanted to share so much tonight, but I was like, well, we got to keep it high level, right? So yeah, Noble and Jeremy, they are the real deal. I joined Noble's group over 2 years ago, and you talked about manifesting. I manifested many of times to win this government contract. So you guys who are already in the space, keep learning, keep attending, keep showing up. You have a great mentor with Noble, and this would be a great opportunity to dig in more.
Thank you, both of y'all. Jeremy, Angela, appreciate y'all immensely. Can't thank you enough. So, guys, that's gonna wrap it up for tonight. Definitely, if you you can always find us on social media. We're always on the gram, and stuff like that. And I still answer my own DMs. I'm not so bad on answering my own DMs. So I think we all do. So feel free to like hit us up. But thank y'all for participating. Hope y'all got something out of it. And we will see y'all next time.